Alright, I'm going to give you my quick take on the Kolari Iridium. I had it for more than a year and I didn't install it on my X-M5. I finally got to it, but installed on my X-M1 because I sold my X-M5. And I wondered if the Iridium could just stay in the camera. And clip-in filters are a hassle to change out. And I can understand why Kolari's video is very uninformative. It didn't really show, but here are the pictures that I took for AB, and you can compare. And you can see that in a way it looks subtle. At first glance, I didn't think it was eye-opening, like very overpowering. And then I noticed that there was a flare, and it could be due to the combination of my X-M1, well, not the X-M1, but the lens that I had on it, the Shure 16mm f1.2. With the Iridium, because I've never seen that. I've never seen the lens flare like that before. And then later that day, I took it to a workshop and I had it in auto white balance and film simulation bracketing with Provia, Astia, and black and white. And I think that with the Iridium suppressing ambiguous colors, allowing the red, greens, and blue to shine through, it can give an effect of overpowering of those colors. When I took my first AB shot in the video, I noticed that it was very magenta, and I don't know if it was the auto white balance or whatever setting that I had messed up, but in the editing I could turn that down and make it look normal. So overall, I really like the Iridium. I think it'll stay in my Fuji X-M1, and I think I will buy another one for an older Sony camera. I sold my A5100 about a year ago. I think it's been a year, and I'm looking for a replacement, and I'm going to replace it with an old Sony camera. And older Sony cameras don't have the similar color science that the newer models have today, and which looks much better. And speaking about Sony, I also took a picture with the A1 Mark II, and I graded it in CapCut, and I think APS-C does the job for me. All right, thanks for watching. Why the magenta happened in the picture. So from what I know about Fujifilm sensors is that they have a very thin infrared filter on the sensor, so that infrared colors or rays or whatever they are may leak in your pictures. And I think that is why my pictures had like this very heavy magenta tint, because when I was browsing at Kolari's Vision website, I saw this picture, which was the tint that I had in my picture. And I just toned it down in the, I think it was software, it was tint. So I turned it all the way down and everything looked normal. So when I saw this image on the Kolari website, it looked like frequencies, similar to what an audio hertz frequency would be. So when you play around with the EQ, the sound would be a little bit less bass or less treble, I think the highest part is called. And when you modify those things, sometimes the result would be weird to the sound. The sound recorded. For example, I have a more nasally voice, and if you reduce the nasal frequency and really focus on that frequency, it might not sound weird. But if you take a big part of, or a big chunk of that frequency, then the overall sound would be affected. And that's, I think, is what's happening with this Iridium filter. It doesn't look normal, but with some editing, you can just tone it down a bit. And so, similar to audio, like if you turn up the volume, the frequency of the equalizers would go up. When you're editing the pictures that are influenced by this Iridium filter, when you bring things down to the level where the others are suppressed, then it would look normal again. I think that's how I understand what this filter is about. I don't know. What do you think?